The Scituate Chamber of Commerce would like to take you down memory lane. In 1933, a man named Frederick T. Bailey developed a plan and a model, and he called it Looking Toward Dawn. And the plan, and I can quote Mr. Bailey about his plan, he said, "I love Scituate. From its most northern point, which watches old Minot's flash its message to every ship entering Boston Harbor, to its most southern point, orphaned by that fateful storm of 1898, from the boisterous barrier at the harbor entrance to the wooded solitude at the border of Hingham. I love Scituate, for I was born here. But lest you think I am prejudiced regarding its beauties, I am willing to let Cy Tucker, an adopted son, tell you how he regards it." And Cy Tucker says, "There is a place beside the old blue ocean, a little spot that's dear to mine and me. Through happy years it's claimed my heart's devotion. Somehow it's where I always loved to be. For nature's garb seems just a trifle nearer. It's where the old sea breezes blow more keen, where blossoms seem to smell a wee bit sweeter, and where grass grows just a little more green. It's where the jonquil grows a deeper, richer yellow. The wild rose shows a rarer, lovelier pink. It's where I see the moon rise big and round and mellow, away out on the mighty ocean brink. Where God's blue sky seems just a little brighter, above the hills and fields, the breaking waves and foam. It's where this heart of mine is always lighter. Scituate, that is the place I love to call my home." Well, Mr. Bailey was a county commissioner, a very far-sighted man, and in 1933 there was much federal money available, and the selectmen at that time were a little reluctant, being all Republicans, they were a little reluctant to take that Roosevelt money, because President Roosevelt said at the time, it's time to extend planning to a wider field. Well, Mr. Bailey took notice of his words, and he said, and I quote him, "I have noticed that people who leave Scituate to chase the bauble of wealth or fame return here to live, and those whose wanderings finally bring them here never leave, so I have preferred to stay. Scituate is bound to grow. There are those who want no change whatever, but it is constantly changing. They forget that the old South Shore house is gone from Front Street, that Litchfield's blacksmith shop and Young's Market are no more. Cummings' store, Waterman's tin shop, Allen's store, Damon's lumber yard, the old grist mill, and numerous buildings along the street have been superseded. After each tide of summer visitors recedes, we are sure to find some who prefer to remain here amid our pleasant surroundings. Available home sites nearer the city are becoming fewer, and Scituate is next in order. The night of the depression which has rested upon us and upon others is lifting. We are looking toward dawn," his theme. "My love for Scituate leads me to hope that the town will realize its impending good fortune and direct the development in such a way as to ensure the most beautiful, healthful, prosperous residential town possible. Desirable growth is not haphazard. It must be planned. I have therefore constructed a model of the section where development for year-round homes is most likely to take place in the near future. It comprises the area between the Civic Center and the ocean, 2¼ miles long and nearly a mile wide. The model is 10 feet long by 3½ feet wide, made of wood to a scale of 100 feet to the inch, and contains 350 houses and 650 shade trees." The model and the description will follow. Let us stand at the lower end of the picture. The Civic Center is the lower left corner. You are now looking directly east to First Cliff in the upper left corner, the second cliff at the right of it. From where we stand, the ground gradually falls east to the railroad tracks, shown by a light line crossing the center of the model, and south to the town clerk's house near the lower right-hand corner. We thus have an area of desirable building lots on a slope toward the south and east, with sufficient pitch for the installation of sewers and other service connections. This area is traversed by Country Way, which cuts diagonally across the right-hand left corner and continues to Plymouth. First Parish Road is shown running diagonally from Civic Center across the railroad at the Scituate station and continuing near the right-hand edge of the model to Front Street. This should be made 60 feet wide, since it will remain as now the principal line from 3A to Scituate Harbor. Elm Street is in the middle of one of the three roads leading west from a traffic circle at the station. The road at the left of the model is Beaver Dam Road, which runs straight from the Civic Center to the town pier at the harbor. Branch Street enters at the left, and Cudworth Road runs from the Civic Center southerly to Country Way. All the other streets in this area are new. There are three running nearly north and south. These are named Richardson Avenue for William P. Richardson, formerly druggist at the harbor and town treasurer for many years. Dreamworld Avenue, leading from the Lawson property off at the left of Greenbush to Greenbush, off to the right, and Otis Avenue, named for Job P. Otis, who long engaged in butcher business in Scituate. Crossing these are twin roads enclosing a garden spot 70 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. Waterman Road, named for the Waterman family, beginning with Andrew, who kept a tin shop, and including his sons Andrew, William, and Charles, and the grandson William, proprietor of the Scituate greenhouse nearby. Brown Road, named for Charles S. Brown, farmer who lived in this territory and represented the district in the Massachusetts legislature. Cooke Road, named for Russell Cooke, one of the old standbys, and Wade Road for Nicholas Wade, one of the first settlers and forebear of two town clerks, Jetson and William. Cole Road, named for Joseph O. Cole, holder of a number of town offices 70 years ago, and for Fred and Edward Cole, who obtained distinction in Scituate and Boston, respectively. This last runs from the traffic circle to Country Way. In this area will also be found a number of parks for the dedication of all, the Civic Center and Lawson Parks already constructed, Gemini Park and the Twin Roads, Waterman Park, Cole Park, and Wade Park. These are all sizable parks for the use of residents in the vicinity. Now let us look beyond the railroad tracks and examine the changes between the station and the harbor. The Beaver Dam Valley is a fresh meadow made by Scituate Brook, which starts in the area southeast of the Egypt Station and winds through the valley and empties into the harbor. This is the brook from which Scituate takes its name. The meadow is owned largely by the town and is grown over with a mass of bushes and trees with abundant breeding places for mosquitoes in its grassy bed. Here in Lake Park are three lakes, each about 600 feet long and 200 feet wide, made by excavating the meadow and using the material thus gained in raising the surrounding surface. These are named Lake Harvard, Lake Dunster, and Lake Chauncey to commemorate the fact that Scituate played an important part in the early educational life of the colonies, for Harvard's first and second presidents were ministers at the First Parish Church in Scituate, and thus the live stream of intellectual influence runs out into the wide ocean to encircle the globe. Running between these lakes are two streets appropriately named Dunster Avenue and Chauncey Avenue. Crossing diagonally through a circle 200 feet in diameter containing shrubbery and a bandstand. A little canoe house is found at the shore of Lake Chauncey, and from this the young man and the maid will glide under the connecting canals and along the interesting shores of the lakes at will. These avenues provide access between First Parish Road and Beaver Dam Road, which is so much needed in the proper development of the town. These last named roads are so narrow and so blessed with trees that widening them seems unwise. This plan provides a new avenue 100 feet wide, of which Brook Street forms a part. extending from the railroad station to Front Street. This is Scituate Boulevard, retaining all the trees on Brook Street and adding a third line for shade. Here we have a proper approach to Scituate Harbor, extending from Scituate Station to the 5.5-acre parking space. Of course, this will require moving back the present houses along southerly side of Brook Street, 60 feet, but the treatment of this street will do away with the necessity of disturbing the two roads which now furnish access to Front Street. In making this change, the town would acquire a strip of land approximately 100 feet in width, including the brook, to be known as Brookside Park, extending from Front Street to Lake Park. This may be made attractive to pedestrians wishing to reach the station or Lake Park by constructing a winding gravel path, crossing the brook at intervals over artistic bridges, and passing through territory made exceedingly attractive by proper pruning and planting. At the easterly end of Brookway Park, it terminates in the open lot under the big elms where the new engine house number 2 will be located. There is a new street called Westerly Avenue, which runs nearly parallel to Front Street till it meets Jericho Road. The easterly side of this avenue will provide additional space for business as the years go by, but the westerly side will remain residential area. Westerly Avenue will also provide an additional opportunity to fight fire which may occur in the business district. Front Street will be 70 feet wide and continue southerly in a straight line to Kent Street. At its northerly end, it will continue along the shore front outside of the present houses to Jericho Beach. This will avoid the extremely bad corner at Beaver Dam and Jericho Roads. Between Front Street, Westerly Avenue, and First Parish Roads will be found Scituate Park. This will be an ever-open space 150 by 400 feet overlooking the harbor and the cliffs. And at the center of one end of the oval will be the heroic bronze statues of Wampatuck passing the deed to Hatherley as in the town seal, and at the other a flagstaff 100 feet high. A tide gate will be constructed along the new line of Front Street to keep salt water out of the brook, thus allowing its reclamation for park purposes. There are now 3 avenues leading west from Front Street. Of these, Beale Place stops before it reaches the top of the hill. Otis Street and Allen Street continue to Hazel Avenue, leaving Clapp's Field, which presents the greatest possibilities for development without access. This plan adds a 4th street going west from Front Street, 3 of which continue through to Chauncey and Dunster Avenues in Lake Park, while Otis Street stops at Havel Avenue as it is at present. At the center of the Clapp Field, we have a circle 250 feet in diameter with a flagpole. Around this circle are to be seen new residences, and the whole area is divided so as to give good-sized lots with ideal drainage and an unsurpassed view of the surrounding territory. Porter Road leading west from Jericho Road will be extended to Tilden Road, crossing Tickner Place and Tickner Court. Notice the Comfort Station on the Eastern Parkway. Now traveling along Edward Foster Road to Second Cliff, we pass a boathouse for building and repairing, and a railroad to bring boats out of the water for repairs or storage in the winter on an area adjacent to the boathouse. A portion of the harbor marsh would be dredged to a depth of 3 feet at mean low water, and the material deposited on the remaining marsh to form Stagehouse Beach Park. Here will be built 2 sandy bathing beaches of good size and 2 small floats for use with motorboats and canoes. An additional street called the Harbor Bow will be constructed to give access to this park without encroaching on the upland of the cliffs, and trees planted along the easterly side of the bow will screen the park from the residential areas at the same time enhancing the beautiful view of the cliffs from the village. The plan lends itself readily to construction of sewer lines. The main sewer, starting at the Civic Center, will be joined by branches serving the area west of the railroad and westerly end of Brookside Park, and continue in this park to Front Street, receiving on the way the branches coming from northerly and southerly slopes and from Beaver Dam Road. The entire system will leave Front Street through the northerly entrance to Eastern Parkway and run easterly across the harbor and the First Cliff Beach, taking the surge from the first and second cliffs and continuing to deep water offshore, thus cleaning up the surge problem for good and all. Accompanying the model is a map in the same scale showing the house lots on the newly developed areas. These are from 100 to 150 feet wide and from 150 to 225 feet deep, large enough for the building of comfortable homes with trees, gardens, garage, or hangar for an autogyro. There are many house lots on the plan in addition to those already occupied, and every one is a desirable lot. Business buildings on Front Street should be fireproofed as protection to their owners as well as to the owners of surrounding property. The plan shows 1.5 miles of frontage for business, and it should be kept within this limit, ensuring the owners of residences against the intrusion of business into the areas designated for dwellings. Does this plan seem too ambitious? Then bear in mind that every part of this area is going to be built upon whether we will or no. The only question is whether the town will decide the character of the development or leave it to the personal ideas of 100 different owners working without regard to each other. Does the plan seem impossible of accomplishment? Surely no one will think of doing all this work, including the building of 13 miles of streets in a single year. We are building streets now somewhere and ought to be building them in such locations as will produce the most satisfactory results in the end. A bronze tablet in front of the Babson Institute in Wellesley has this inscription: "Plan for more than you can do, then do it. Bite off more than you can chew, then chew it. Hitch your wagon to a star, keep your seat, and there you are." And after the presenting of this plan, Mr. Bailey received an approval. We, the undersigned officials and residents of the town of Scituate, have examined the model looking towards dawn and heartily approve its aim and general features. We believe the town should without delay take steps in directing its future development toward making Scituate, in fact, quote, the gem of the South Shore. The Planning Board: Hamilton Welch, Roy Ackerman, Stephen Webster, Robert Bartlett, Percival Nash. The Selectmen: W. Irving Lincoln, Harry Cleverly, Daniel A. Vines, as well as citizens: Colonel Furlong, Harold Wingate, Michael Welch, Herbert Fry, Russell Fish, John McJennett, Harold Poland, and Phil Terry. Isn't it too bad we don't have a master plan that was adhered to?